Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collected podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, and welcome to TFYLP, episode 381 for Monday, May 18th. I'm Lucas, and I am here with Anna.
Good evening.
Jack.
Hey! My best
And
Fonz
Nick.
impression.
Hey, everybody.
So first, I'd like to start off and say thank you to Anna for joining at the last minute. The last couple of weeks, we've had issues with one of our cast members. Just, it's been different ones each time, but something's come up or whatever, and so we've had to kind of pull from, find an alternate. In the middle of things, scrambling and whatnot. So for those of you wondering why we did not start on time, that's why we didn't start on time this week. So, but of course, I'm sure
my basement.
right,
Kicking
exactly.
and screaming from my basement.
Well, every week, I mean, that is like, the tradition of TFYLP is that we're going to have some kind of issue. So I don't know. Hopefully my mic is okay this week. It's not too loud, too soft,
So far,
whatever.
so good.
So we'll
Hopefully
see
it's
on
not
that.
blowing anybody's ears out like it did on, what was it? Wednesday or whatever? Tuesday?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you guys said it sounds like a little better. So, but anyway, so yeah, we decided to do we talk about some of the various crossovers because we had a very exciting crossover that happened recently, and here we go. And that I wanted to talk about, which is the Transformers Terminator, but apparently everyone else thought we were talking about Transformers My Little Pony. So that's what Rob put up on the card, and I guess in the chat, I think people are already having a nice, fine discussion about the My Little Pony crossover. So I guess what do you guys think about? I guess starting off about this My Little Pony crossover.
It's awesome. That's how I'll say it. I really like it. It's absolutely preposterous, and it's great. I am hoping that there will be a cooler toy crossover than what we're currently getting. I'm hoping for something truly really crossover, like some sort of actual blending, not just a pony with a layer of Optimus paint, but something that's really like a bizarre blend of the two brands would be cooler to me.
I want my Twilight Sparkle Prime. That was, one of the best unrealized concepts. Bring it on. I'll take it. I'll take the whole main six as robots. It'd be great.
That would be my first time buying ponies, and it'd be great.
Because that's the thing is that I feel like, we talked about completionism, last week, and I feel like the ponies and whatnot, it's kind of like that is the realm of the completionist, that the figure doesn't transform. It's pretty much a pony with prime colors, whatever. And so I think for most Transformers fans, you're probably not going to get it. However, if you actually release a figure that transforms, that comes with ponies, then that's probably the thing where it's like, all right, I guess I gotta get this now.
And I think that's the interesting thing about the way they did this particular crossover toy. It's not targeted at us. It's not for the Transformer collectors. It's to try and capture some of the very, very large My Little Pony market. It probably their best-selling girl brand, right? So
right.
For them to link up all of these other media brands with My Little Pony right now, it makes a lot of sense to try and pick up some of those dollars, especially when Pony is at a low point because they're between series. So that's
You have to
probably
be honest. That Dungeons and Dragons set is actually more tempting to me than the Transformers set. Like, that is just cooler because it's more, I don't know, it's like I said, it's more that blend. It's like it's ponies playing D&D instead of just a spray painted pony.
You know, not to get too far into Ponyland here, but like, I'm a little disappointed that they did a Dungeons and Dragons set and they didn't do Ogres and Oubliettes. They had, 2 or 3 episodes all about Dungeons and Dragons and didn't even touch it for their own crossover. Seems like a waste. That was too far into ponies, and I'm sorry.
This is great. This is the furthest we've gone into ponies on this show.
But yeah, I mean, I think that in general, they keep trying to find ways. I mean, a lot of the toy companies are doing that, where they're trying to find ways to cross over between, you know, boys and girls toys. And so, like, I know, I think it wasn't Hasbro, was it Mattel that did the DC Girls line?
Yeah, the DC superhero girls. Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah. And so things like that. And so, I mean, I think that ponies is kind of, you know, again, like a good way to try to cross over. And I think that, again, like, if you can get some of those girls in, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, pretty good Transformers fiction, I think, that could, you know, potentially rope them in as well. So
Sure.
But and I think it sounds like in general that Hasbro probably wants to try to feature more of their own brands as well. I think is part of it. You know, that like you're going to make a lot more money if you know, whatever Transformers, G.I. Joe, you know, My Little Pony, all that are going well versus if Star Wars is going well, because they don't have to pay somebody else.
True. It is their internal stuff.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, you're probably right again that these ponies are probably something to fill the shelves in between their like shows, because I think like the when's the next movie coming out for My Little Pony? Is it 2021 or 2022? I can't remember what.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember.
I think a lot of that's up in the air still too.
Right. So yeah, so since that's all up in the air, that's probably what they are, you know, wanting to do and whatnot. So, but I guess like staying on topic as far as the toys, you know, I guess like what were your guys' favorite crossovers that they've done, you know, over the years for Transformers toys?
I have too many.
If I had to pick a favorite crossover toy, it'd probably be the Energon Snowcat, because it's technically, was it just the Snowcat? I can't remember the name of that thing, but it was a great figure. It was a lot of fun, and it was sort of like just a subtle, hey, look, we're doing this G.I. Joe thing, and let's see if anybody notices. And it was super cool to see it, and it was in a time when they weren't really doing a lot of stuff like that, you know. So to see the brands sort of reference each other was really neat. Beyond that, probably the club. I mean, technically, the TFCC Only Human set. It would have been nice if they got a chance to finish those, because those are technically G.I. Joe bodies and Transformer figures, and you had the old Snake and the Viper in there too. I mean, the Bat. But you know, didn't get to finish those, and I'm bummed about it still.
Be great.
Yeah.
What do you think, Anna? What was your favorite crossover?
Oh my goodness, it's so hard to pick because I love the crossover toys. Like, the crossover toys are some of my favorite stuff to get, because it's just like I can mix multiple fandoms and get, you know, multiple things. Like, I finally got my RC as Chun-Li figure, and this is definitely one of my favorites because I actually like this mold better as Chun-Li than I do as RC, which is probably strange, but that's all right. Like, that is super cool to me, though, when you can have your Transformers basically cosplay as another fandom. Is really super awesome. But I'd say probably my favorite is that I definitely have some questions to ask you guys about the crossovers, but probably my favorite is my Mega Drive Megatron.
Oh, I love that one.
the wordplay was great.
Yeah.
The fact that he's a Sega Mega Drive, even though mine has the Genesis branding instead of the. See, there's the PlayStation one. It's great.
How do they do all that and not call him Segatron? Seems
Because
like a missed
Mega Drive
opportunity.
Megatron is fun. I like that though. It's Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually think this is a really good Transformer too.
Yeah.
Like instead of where the Chun-Li is just RC with a layer of paint on, this is literally a Sega Genesis box that's very, very small, that turns into a pretty good sized deluxe-ish Megatron. And I don't know, these things were really clever to me. It's older now, right? Like probably
I think it
10-ish
might be
years
like
old?
It's been a few years. Yeah, probably.
5-ish, yeah.
Five-ish? Okay. I can't remember what year they came out in. I got mine a couple years
What even
ago.
is time anyway?
Right. That's the way we talk these days. But yeah, this was definitely my favorite, like, on brand. Although, I even have some third party stuff that's crossovers. Like I have my
Oh, the Mario
Mario
That's
dudes.
so rad. That's such good
animated
set.
guys. That it's just like if there's a way to cross over my love of old video games and Transformers, I'm pretty much in. So, I will buy the figures if they're like Street Fighter characters, if they're old game systems, whatever, that kind of stuff I am definitely in for. They're super fun.
Well, and I think, like you held up the Segatron or whatever. It actually looks like a pretty decent Megatron. Like
really
it doesn't look like bad or whatever. Whereas I feel like, I have a lot of the, whatchamacallit, Star Wars crossover toys. And I don't really feel like that those, like, they nailed the vehicles, and I'm sure they had to, like, that's probably a requirement to do it. But the actual bot modes are not that great on a lot of them, in my opinion. And I think that is much more reminiscent of Megatron.
Yeah, they're really not. Those older crossover figures are not very good, but this pulls off Megatron. He has a cannon thing. I think it's one of the I can't remember what slot it is that ends up being his cannon. It's been so long
Is it
since
a controller port, is it?
I want to say
It's a
it
controller port.
is.
Yeah.
I want to say it is. He does have a controller as wings. I love the controller wings. They're super fun because the Genesis controller was already like some sort of flight thing. Anyway, I think it's great, and I want to encourage this type of behavior. Something else that was great that I didn't hold on to because they actually weren't great toys. But do you guys remember the shoe and the hat?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Were those both Nike crossovers? Is that right?
The shoe
I think
was.
those were, yeah.
The
The
shoe
shoe,
was. Can't
was
remember
the
hat.
shoe
the
one
hats
with
were-
the Calvin Johnson? Or was that just
Oh,
a
God.
special
They had
edition of the
different
show?
ones.
Oh, okay.
The Calvin Johnson Megatron, because that was his nickname. Those were actual shoes, but they did do, I think, just Optimus as like I think the right shoe as a transformable figure. And I don't think it was that good.
It's a shameless shell former. It's just like utterly like the shoe just turns into plates and
Yeah. There were three of them.
robot
It was the
pyramid.
Megatron, the Magnus, and Optimus is what they were, right? And there was a fourth one planned that never happened. I think.
Probably.
Actually, yeah, that sounds about right. I think.
That sounds right. It wasn't good though. Like this Mega Drive Megatron is actually good. He has a
Yeah.
little trouble standing, but he's actually a good toy. Whereas the shoes and hats the hats might be cute. I don't know. I've never owned one of the hats, but the shoes definitely were not good. Fun. It's the fun thought that counts.
Well, I feel like those Mario toys that you showed off, that's kind of like the perfect like kind of thing for you, Anna, because it's not really actually worth anything, but it's for a third party figure or whatever, it's not like it's worth hundreds of dollars. It's it's something weird and it's unique, and they're actually somewhat hard to come by, just depending on it was a exclusive, I think. Was it TFCon or was it a different convention? back in the day. It may have been TF Nation. I can't remember. But yeah, it was based on. Gosh, I can't remember.
TFCon exclusive.
TFCon. Who did that? I can't remember the name.
Mech Ideas.
Mech Ideas. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a repaint of. Gosh, I can't remember. Did they do like a Gears and?
It was Huffer and Pipes.
Huffer and
Huffer and Pipes.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
So it was sort of an homage to homage because the design was based on Mario and Luigi in the first place. So they did them in Mario and Luigi colors. It's going full circle with that. Yeah.
Funny enough, I actually just watched a review from Thew just the other day about these, and it's funny that they popped up again, and I completely forgot that they were actually crossovers. I'm like, hey, that actually fit perfect with this. So.
Yeah, I feel like they were actually well received for what they are. I mean, they are deluxe figures. They're not like super fancy third-party amazing things, but I feel like people liked them okay. I got them way later myself, but super happy.
Yeah.
I've never opened them because that box is just, I love the fact that, it has a fake Nintendo seal of approval and it's got the old...
They get the classic Nintendo trade dress perfect. Yeah, it's good.
The packaging's great.
Yeah. That look. If it can hit two nostalgias or two fandoms at the same time for me, it's extra fun. And I have to say, like, for me, there really haven't been a whole lot of fun Mario Brothers toys in the past that I've actually thought were fun toys. Like, I actually got one of the SH Figure Arts of Mario, and it was just like, he's not fun because the way he's built, he doesn't move very well, so he's not super exciting to pose. But this is a way I can have a Mario figure as a cool toy that transforms into a thing. And it comes with a plunger.
And it's a transformer, so...
Right, it's a transformer. Like, transformers are almost always fun toys, whereas a lot of the toys, like, I don't know about how much you guys have looked at Street Fighter toys, but Street Fighter toys choose some questionable art styles for how they look when they're actually displayed. They're just... The current direction of the art's not so great. So to have, Ken and Chun-Li as goofy-looking Transformers is more fun than those modern Street Fighter art.
Even though they don't really look much like them. I guess they look enough like them that you'd be like, oh yeah, it's Ken and Chun-Li, but otherwise...
I think the Chun-Li is a very good likeness. I think the Chun-Li and the M. Bison are really good likenesses. But the Ken is not. The Ken is just a hot rod painted to have an open shirt, which looks really bizarre. Yeah, this is why I was excited about this topic, is to talk about the toys, because the unique toys you can have when you do crossovers is just super fun. Like people in the chat talking about, Power Ranger crossovers and Pokemon crossovers. The Pokemon crossover would be so cool.
Well, I mean, you think the Power Ranger crossover has to happen, right? Like,
now that they own that property, that's happening. That's
like it's just inevitable. Which I actually think it could be a good thing, just because I know, like, a lot of the Power Ranger toys. When my kid really started watching Power Rangers, like, I don't know, whatever, 5 years ago. Something like that. Like, the toys are actually pretty decent, but it's like the quality just keeps going down and down and down. And so, I mean, now at this point, the Megazords that you get don't really, like they're not really combining Megazords. It's like, here's a big
they're
chunk
just one
of plastic.
solid figure.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, now that Hasbro has that license, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it differently than Bandai has traditionally done it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a whole new ballgame now, right? Is this their first year with the whole license, or am I missing something?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It is.
Are they just doing... I didn't know about this license deal, like, in total. Are they just doing Power Rangers, or are they also doing Super Sentai in Japan?
I think it's just Power Rangers. I think it's just
So that's
US
interesting, because we'll get the Bandai... Because I know Bandai's already put out some of their model kits for the newest Super Sentai series, which just started a couple months ago.
Right.
So I'm curious, will those toys never get carried over, basically, and instead we'll get all new toys? That's kind of fun. Although the combiners from the new series are not very good.
Well, I think like they haven't actually brought over most of the Japanese toys for. I mean, it's been a long time. Like pretty much like they redo all the toys just because all the Japanese figures have way too high a parts count and paint and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like they have to redesign it. But yeah, no, I think that it's totally Saban, Power Rangers. So I don't know like how it's working with the show, like where, like if Saban is, still has their deal where they take the stuff from Bandai Power Rangers. I'm not sure exactly about that, but I was going to show off a couple of crazy stuff that I have here. This is the Disney label Transformers. So I actually have not opened this up, so I have no idea how it transforms. So this is like one of the oddities that I picked up at TFCon. So, and the same thing too. The Megatron isn't as fun just because you can't actually see what it looks like. But I don't really want to open it for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it.
I wasn't impressed with the bear bricks. They're a neat idea, but they're not as fun to me. All those two.
Yeah, because there's been other Disney Transformers too, right? There were those Toy Story combiners.
Those were actually Bandai
branded, right? Yeah. I just think it's fun when other series just like go. Obviously, they're taking the idea of combiners, the traditional arms and legs combiner from Transformers, and using it for evil, and it's great.
If you're going to talk about wacky Japanese crossovers, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Hello Kitty, the little when they were doing like the Transformers Q guys, the little ones. And I think they did Peanuts too, right? Didn't they do a Snoopy? I think.
Oh, did they? Oh man, I'm gonna have to track that down.
I think so.
I might have to track down the Snoopy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a Peanuts fan too.
If they do a Snoopy, I might have to buy this because I was the biggest Snoopy fan. Oh my god, they did. They did.
Oh man,
I know they
on eBay right now.
Yeah, it was.
Too.
It's a repaint. It looks like the G1 Prime from because it's yeah, and the back of the truck looks like Snoopy's doghouse.
Oh man,
that's too cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I can find this somewhere.
Yeah, they did all of these different crossovers off of that same mold. It was Peanuts, it was Hello Kitty, and there was like a Halloween Hello Kitty, and then there was all the Evangelion ones too.
Yeah.
So
sure enough, I
got a lot of mileage.
I find the Transformers Q Snoopy on eBay in the box, $16.58 and $10 shipping, and I can get it by June 1st.
How many are there? Is that the only one? See, I'm sitting here. I need to shut down the show here so I can outbid Jack on eBay.
It's just to buy it now, so you can just
feel like Jack and do it while you're on the show.
It's like,
give me my wallet.
Yeah. Jack and I are like arguing over.
Plug in to ouch my wallet.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, coming to ouch my wallet next week. So
here comes my Transformers
Snoopy time.
There you go.
But yeah, that is the best crossover.
Yeah, that is super cool. I'll have to look at it later. It's a great idea.
Now.
But that is the kind of stuff I like. Like, I actually think I enjoy that kind of stuff more than I do. Everyone's gonna like. I don't know the reaction I'll get for this, but I think I enjoy the crossover stuff more than I do the main toy lines.
Hey, Lucas, if it makes you feel any better, they have 2 available. One for me, one for you.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna have to get it. See, and this is the thing, too, is like there's probably somebody in the chat that... Of course, I don't know.
Somebody's sniping you right now.
Our viewers are probably not as crazy as us, so...
Well, it's a Snoopy sniping shopping war. So you go get
Damn
it.
Right.
Say that 3 times fast.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I said it very slow. All right, guys.
All right. Off topic.
So Jack, like, what do you have a favor, or do you want me to go?
I actually wanted to talk about it because it's one of my favorite. Because to be honest, when it comes to crossovers, I love it when they tie in other movie franchises. So when they did for the 35th anniversary, they did Ghostbusters, and that was one of my favorites. I absolutely love the Prime, and I want to get him, but obviously as a convention exclusive, he is going to be insanely expensive. But those are the kind of crossovers I'd like to see. I like to see more movies. Like, especially, I want to see more of those because I really want to see a Back to the Future crossover.
Yeah.
I got a feeling a lot of people do.
Give me that DeLorean.
That, and I can kind of see Knight Rider because, I mean, like, if you want to do, like, a cheap exclusive Knight Rider crossover, take... Where is he? Right there. The Power of the Prime's tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
The same car as Knight Rider, or kit, I should say. Do that, you're set. Sell it for like $20, maybe 30. Pack them with somebody else. I'm game. Give them a little miniature figure of David Hasselhoff.
That'll make it way better.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that the smaller price point figures probably don't make sense for them to use here in the States for crossovers because the licenses are probably so cost prohibitive that it's got to be a larger price point figure, and that's why Ectotron was a Voyager, essentially. And so I think we'll see things of that size or larger going forward.
Maybe if they somehow do a Masterpiece Wind Charger, just repaint that and call it good on that.
In the chat, Rodimus mentioned Earthrise Ironhide repainted as the Mystery Machine. And I don't know if you all saw that custom a few months back. Someone did of MP Ironhide as the Mystery Machine, but it was super cool because his van type totally works for that.
I would throw a lot of money at that.
For that.
Yeah. Is Snoopy in one or not Snoopy? I'm sorry. Scooby Doo. Is Scooby Doo? Who's that made by? Is that Playmobil? Or like who has the license for that?
I think it's Character Designs Limited has the toys at the minute. Although I'm not sure who has the new movie toys. But the previous line that has been in Walmart for like the last 5 years or whatever was, I want to say it was Character Designs Limited.
Because that's the thing where I feel like is somewhat of an issue. To where, okay, you know, Scooby-Doo, they, like, you know, another company owns a license, so, like, why are they going to, you know, have their competitor make it? So, like, that's the thing that's kind of crappy with, you know, some of these things. Or, again, like, you know, Knight Rider or whatever, they might want too much money or whatever, to where, you know, like Ghostbusters is kind of like a perfect thing because they have a movie coming out and Hasbro was trying to acquire the license for Ghostbusters toys. So it was almost like just the you know, the perfect thing.
Yeah.
And some of these other ones, it's like, you know, business kind of gets in the way. But like, I mean, I agree with you, Jack, that like I would love to have a Knight Rider, whatchamacallit, like I'd love to have, you know, Back to the Future. I mean, those are all great. Like an A-Team van, I think would be cool. I mean, if they just did all those Batmobiles. I know in the chat people mentioned doing Batmobiles and whatnot too. I think that'd be really neat.
Here's one I want that'll never happen. I want a turtle van. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that iconic, you know, party wagon from the original series.
And it's funny that there's the one third party that just came out with their repaints of
the New Age ones.
Yeah.
The 4 bronze.
How about they just finish up the set and just release, you know, Shredder and the van. Just, you know, do another set, call it good.
I feel like that company has some really good crossover potential because they do get creative with their repaints, and, you know, pulling out Ninja Turtles from freaking bronze is bizarre. And I really want them just to keep doing that stuff. Because I don't care if it's first party or third party. If it's crossovers that capture my childhood, I'll get them. Even though I didn't buy the Turtles. Yes.
I mean, I think that New Age is totally a company that might do it because they put out so many repaints of stuff that, like, I could just see them, you know, whatever, throwing stuff at a wall. And I think especially, it seems like that those, you know, Turtle guys were pretty well received. So I'm sure that they're probably trying to think up, like you said, the next thing to do with that too. So, but yeah, I guess we had mentioned before the Ectotron. I think that this was a really cool crossover that they did. I thought that they did a fantastic job on it, and so I mean, I really hope that they, continue to do some type of crossovers. So I mean, I could see them doing even Top Gun is another one I think too, like with Starscream.
Oh yeah, there's a movie coming, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
who knows when that's going to come, but
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be
repeat
something.
Starscream as one of the jets from Top Gun. Call it good.
but yeah,
Does he have to
again,
come with a volleyball?
Yeah, I could see that as an accessory. Have a little diorama setup of Starscream playing volleyball, going through the air with a pair of sunglasses on.
I would
With
buy that
danger zone.
instantly, and I've never seen Top Gun in my life, but I would still buy that instantly.
To be honest, same.
how have you guys not seen Top Gun? I
Monsters.
mean, come on, you gotta
Okay, so here's the
expand your
thing.
horizons
Like,
here.
I didn't get excited about the Ghostbusters crossover because the first time I had seen Ghostbusters was 2015. So I don't have that childhood nostalgia you all have for Ghostbusters.
Right, but
watch it judge me. I see
after
it.
you watch it in 2015, I mean, it's one of the classic movies. So obviously, I'm sure that you loved it at that point, and then we're like, man, I would love to see more Ghostbusters and all that, right?
It was good. It was a funny movie. I liked it. I didn't become a super fan overnight or anything, though. Don't worry. That's why Ectotron isn't open. Ectotron isn't open because I got it, and I was like, do I really need to own this? I don't really know. So I've just left it in its box for, what's it been, a year now?
The trouble with the Ectotron is they did such an amazing job on the packaging that you really don't want to open it up. Like I ended up having to get two of them, one to open and one to stay sealed. And I never do that with most of my toys. Like most everything I open right away and toss the box. But that was one of the ones that they just did such a great job on.
And I honestly think the Ecto 1 mode looks cooler than the robot. It's a very iconic vehicle. Even not being a Ghostbusters fan, it's a very iconic vehicle that's preposterous in the first place. So therefore, it's kind of cooler that way, and it's actually a pretty good likeness of the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and they did since they IDW had the license as well, they did a comics crossover at the same time that they released this too, and it was like a mini series. So I think it was 5 issues.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it worked decently well. Like it wasn't bad, better than the current comics, but
I've heard that crossover was good. I haven't read it, but I've only heard good things. Again, no Ghostbusters fandom, so I didn't jump into it.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
I
he's
mean,
just over here biting his tongue.
It's one of my
want me
favorite
to
movies
reveal the
ever.
other iconic 80s movies I haven't seen, like, Back to the Future and all that.
Oh no, come on.
It's crazy too. Because he's just like, how can you be such a nerd but never have watched those iconic 80s movies? But I did.
Right.
I guess we shouldn't give you too much crap because that was what was it? Wednesday on Ouch My Wallet. I think after the show, I think we were talking with Christian, and he never heard of Crash Bandicoot until pretty much when that show. We were like, huh? How have you not heard Crash Bandicoot?
Wow.
So I guess we shouldn't give Anna too much crap.
They're turning on me in the chat.
And I don't know if you noticed in the chat, they want to
I
replace.
see it. I see it. I have turned myself into public enemy number 1.
Oh man, there's certain things you really should not admit in public, and that's one of those things. Because Nick, we've had the exact same reaction. Like I've had. All right, so oh no, somehow Anna went. Oh, there we go. All right, so can everyone hear me in the chat? So yeah, sorry about that.
I got you.
I don't know. Somehow,
Now that I have
Anna, like this is how poorly it, like even the stream is like, we can't stand that Anna has not seen some of these movies.
You're freaking blaming me. You're saying
what was that Rob said on Wednesday? Wasn't it Anna needs a new show, or wasn't that Zaldrin or something?
oh my goodness, you guys. I watched different things than you did as a kid. That's all it is.
So, yeah. So, no, this is all this is all Anna's fault. No, so
I'm being punished for not being enough of an 80s nerd.
So that's okay. So I feel like that we really do need to have like some kind of watch party, and then we could potentially have it like with some of the younger people, and then also Anna, who's not seen the 80s movies. So we could bring on like Jack and Christian and whatnot, and Serge.
I'll host,
and then
I'm gonna host.
Oh
yes.
Man,
should do it like
host.
Riff Tracks, where like we all watch and record, and you just you play us reacting to the movie and reacting to Anna watching the movie.
Like judging me the whole time.
Yes.
This is good. But see, here's the thing. I totally played the Back to the Future video game on the NES.
Yeah.
And I definitely also played the Ghostbusters video game on the NES. I played video games. I just didn't watch movies.
that's okay. So, but I would definitely recommend you seeing the entire Back to the Future trilogy. So, I think that I find that if you watch
$30 right here.
If you watch all of those, Anna, you will feel better. Just in general. So,
great. That will be my next step after we finish talking about crossover, not just
See, this is how we get off topic. Is that something like this happens. So
hey,
yeah.
I was just telling I was reminding him how 2 weeks ago when we were doing the video game episode, we were trying to keep it organized. We're going to do a certain way of how we were going to do the episode. Sure enough, we're going that way. Right off and
I don't let you guys get off topic, and therefore then we get off topic making fun of me.
No, I know. See, that's the whole thing is that somehow, like, I went over before the show, I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to, we had this whole structure, we had, whatever, and then you're the one getting us off topic. So, thanks, Anna.
Back to business, you guys. Back to business.
So, but, okay,
back to the topic.
As far as, continuing on with some of the comic crossovers, which ones do you think worked well, and which have not worked well in your opinion?
I really enjoyed the Devil's Due G.I. Joe Transformers crossover from 2002, 3. When was that? I don't know. I'm old. I can't remember anything anymore. But it was specifically of the two G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers they were publishing at the time. It was the more cartoony one, and it was that one I really liked because you got to see all the different Autobots, Decepticons reimagined as, G.I. Joe vehicles. And that really spoke to me. The Optimus Hiss tank comes from that, and it's really cool.
Oh, yeah, I know what one you're talking about now. Yeah, okay.
Those Double Juice comics were actually pretty good. A lot of the, crossovers and stuff they did. I enjoyed those.
It's fun stuff.
I mean, I guess I kind of understand G.I. Joe as a brand has been kind of, buried for a while now. It's just not been popular, but I feel like it could have worked together so well. With the Transformers movies even, they have some shady, whatever government agency and all this different thing. It's it seems like that they could have inserted G.I. Joe into the Transformers movies, and I think it would have worked, really, really well. So it's too bad, that it didn't. And hopefully we can eventually get to that point. I don't know if they can actually launch G.I. Joe. And I think they have a G.I. Joe movie coming out like, well, of course, who knows? That might be on hiatus now as well. But yeah, like I think it would work really well, and even like I think Mask theoretically could work well. Like if they could actually like fully relaunch,
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Mask. It seems like it would work.
There is absolutely a way to unite the brands that they just have not been able to do because they want to do it all at once. They want to make it all happen in one big just drop. And it can't go that way. It needs to be more organic. It needs to be a thing that happens over time. You know, they did the same thing with the comics with Revolution and the thing, whatever the event was before that. I swear I fell off. But like you have all these different properties and they insist, no, we're going to do them all right now. And they're all going to be exactly the same feel of like book. They're not going to be targeted at different audiences. They're not going to cross over gradually and organically. It's like, that's all you got to do, man, is tell this type of story over here in Transformers, this type of story over here in G.I. Joe, you know, and you can bring all these brands together, but you can't force it. The second you force it, the fans realize it and they go, man, this sucks. This is not what I'm here for. I'm not here to just buy more comics or watch more movies. Like I want a cohesive narrative. I want character development. You know? And that's where this stuff always falls apart. Like Sector 7 was clearly designed to be their precursor to G.I. Joe or Mask or whatever. And so they kind of started right.
Right.
But then nothing came of it, and those I don't want to get too much into the running down the movies part of things because I hate those films. But there was something there and they could have done more with it if they'd have let it happen.
I think you're right. Like, it could have happened organically there, and that would have been a good way to sell it, because people would have just, like, we would have just jumped right in, right? Like, all of you who aren't big G.I. Joe people would have just been like, okay, go watch G.I. Joe stuff, because it's in the same universe for Transformers, and my robots are going to show up sometimes, and it would have been super cool.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, I think, like, all these companies want to do these like massive universes after Marvel's done so well with theirs, you know, so DC did it, and, you know, then Hasbro's like, all right, let's do this with the comics too. But the problem with the comics is that you can't just like, I mean, the Transformers comic is not a big seller in general, you know, I mean, right. It's somewhat niche. And so like, if you're asking them to buy a secondary comic, like I would probably buy another one, like if you had a second comic. So if you're doing Transformers G.I. Joe, I'll probably buy it. Or if you do Transformers ROM or Transformers Mask, like you said, Nick, like I think that like I would be willing to buy like one extra comic. But all of these ones, like I couldn't tell you about ROM. I was not into ROM at all. Like I was right. And so the fact that they in Visionaries and whatever, and I mean, I guess there's probably, you know, some people that are, but I just feel like the fact that you're trying to relaunch all those brands, you know, at the same time, I think that was part of the reason it didn't work. And I just felt like the storylines were too disparate and whatever, that I think that it would have worked, like you said, if they would have just done it as an ongoing secondary, you know, series and whatnot. Right. So
they cannibalized their audience because every story was straight ahead action story. What they needed to do was Transformers is your science fiction allegory where you use the robots to talk about human problems. G.I. Joe is your military action book. Mask could have been your X-Files type of thing where they're using alien tech to deal with their monster of the week. You know, you could have done Sword and Sorcery with Visionaries but put a futuristic spin on it. You know, you got your Space Cop or whatever with ROM. You have all these different things. You'd be doing slightly different twists on the genre so that you're not selling the same 6 books to one person. You're selling each of those books to different audiences theoretically, and then you can cross them over once they've developed a following. And that they never did anything like that. There was just no, it's all boys action, go. Well, right. Of course it's going to fail because nobody wants to buy another 5 books beyond what they're already reading. It's not going to happen.
Right. And I think that if, like, again, like building it up. I think that you might have seen that after a while, but it's just not, those properties are not the same as like all those Marvel books and the DC books and whatever. It's just, all those characters have, these name brands, and, Transformers does, but, some of the others, don't. So it was too much too soon, I think, on that. But I think that the direction that they're going now, I think, is a lot smarter. So they had the Transformers Ghostbusters, and that was good, and that was a fun, lighthearted thing. And then they had the Transformers Terminators coming out, and unfortunately, this has been interrupted by the whole, COVID and all that. So I don't know if I was actually asking Christian before the show if issue 2 had actually come out physically yet. Because
he said no.
Look it up right now.
He said no, but I didn't know if you guys.
I think my copy of number 1 is still in my pull box. How was that?
It was actually really good.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. It was something that was like it kind of flip-flopped some of the story which you're expecting. And so I actually think that, like, for a first issue, I thought it was interesting. And so it was actually nice to read a Transformers comic that actually pulled me in. I haven't had that for a while. So I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And Alex Milne, I think, did some of the artwork on it too, which, it's always
cool.
wonderful whenever he does more issues. So
It's funny because I automatically assumed that a Terminator comic would have like gross, gritty art that I wouldn't enjoy, but I definitely like his art. So
no, yeah. Luckily
It
they
says,
didn't get Livio on.
blotchy. Bleh.
It says issue 2 will be available June of 2020. So
Okay, cool.
That's next month.
Good,
Did anybody
good
read
deal.
that Star Trek Transformers crossover last year, year before, whenever it was?
I've been tempted in it, but I just never really clicked because I was never that big of a Star Trek guy. So I
Fair.
may give it a shot.
It was fun. It's worth a read.
So.
If you could pick up
I
the trade.
have it.
Yeah.
I just never get around to reading it because I like Star Trek, so I thought it would be a neat thing to read, but then I never get around to reading anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, it's not, oh my God, this is life changing, but it was a
Right.
solid story. It was really fun. It was neat to see them play in that world for a little while. What was the other one? Oh, you guys remember when they were doing Infestation? They did Mars Attacks Transformers somewhere around there.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that
Mars
either.
Attacks the Transformers. The art is beautiful. It's all Matt Frank, and it's really solid art. I bought a page out of that because it was so pretty. But it's very cartoony, and it's almost like the Mars Attacks movie in that way, the way it's cartoony. So if you enjoyed that, you might want to check it out.
Ooh,
But it was good stuff. I like that.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
They're talking about on the in the chat about Disney buying Hasbro and the ramifications of that. I think as Transformers fans, I'm not sure we would want to see that.
I can kind of see it if Hasbro just sells the movie rights, like just take them from. I believe Paramount still has the movie
Paramount
rights.
has it, yeah.
Just sell it to Disney and just see what they could do. Just like do one movie just to test the waters, and then if it works, put them in the MCU.
I think they would want the toy branding and all that too. So I don't know. I mean, I think oh, sorry.
Sorry. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, I think that with Paramount, we'll see what happens with the next movies. It seems like that Hasbro at least is trying to take over a lot more power with some of the decision making. Now, who knows whether or not that'll be a good thing? I mean, it's hard to say whether or not some of the stuff, because I feel like, again, some of the decisions that were made at Hasbro with some other properties like Batman and whatnot were not the best. Like, the movies didn't end up that great. So
In terms of a Disney takeover of Hasbro, if that were to ever happen, it's probably the kind of thing that would be very good for the media. It would be good for the cartoons. It would be good for the movies. Probably wouldn't be so good for the toys.
Why not?
Disney has a tendency to treat the properties they acquire as like IP farms, but then they don't really like. Marvel's been struggling, and I mean, there has been some discussion about Star Wars in the last couple of years. You may have noticed, sort of a split fandom there. But I do think that as a whole, the media output would be better for a Disney takeover. It's just,
Well, I mean, the difference though is that storytelling in Star Wars back in the day was really good. I mean, I don't necessarily think that Transformers storytelling has necessarily been on the same level with their movies and cartoons and things like that. Like, they've been good, but it's not like it was a generational kind of thing. So I think that we would be more than happy probably with whatever Disney made IP or movie wise, more than likely. Like you said, I think it would probably be more, some of the toys and things like that. So, and I think that in general, we would not want, Disney to be over the IP if you are into third-party figures or just even some of the things that we do now, because
that would be the end of
like literally after as soon as that's announced, like I'm sure every third-party company would be like, we're done, we're out.
See ya.
Yeah, don't mess with the mouse, man.
You just made me not want it. Like, I was like, the Disney thing's not too bad, but no, don't hurt my third-party stuff.
No,
Actually, didn't think of
it
that
would
till
be
now. Yeah,
gone
that'd be
That's where the creativity comes from.
So, but yeah, I guess I know we've talked a little bit too about, some properties that we would like to see for crossovers, but are there any other crossovers that you guys would like to see that we haven't touched on so far?
Somebody had mentioned earlier Power Rangers, and I would really, really like to see a Mighty Morphin Transformers crossover. Mostly because Mighty Morphin was the only Power Rangers I paid attention to. But I think that's probably on the radar once they are able to take whatever MMPR money they can take and they start getting into just other later Power Rangers. They'll go back to the MMPR refresh it with a Transformers crossover of some kind, I'm sure.
I don't even want fiction. I just want their toy team to take over Zords. I just want them to go back and fix Megazord toys from the past and actually get them to look like, I don't know, cool versions of themselves. I don't want to say like they looked in the shows, because in the shows they don't typically look exactly fancy.
Yeah.
But I think you could get like the people who design Transformers could make really cool versions of the Megazords. Like, you could actually get the Mighty Morphin Megazord to be the toy it should be.
Yeah.
For maybe a better price. Because there is that Chogokin one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Right. It's a little out of my usual price range, but it still looks cool.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's so hard, too, with the Megazords is the prices on those are usually pretty inexpensive. And so it's like you're asking... that like even a Hasbro combiner with like some of the ones that they had where it's like $100, or like some of those Voltron combiners and whatnot. But then it's like, are you going to want a kid to have to spend $100 on the Zord? I know we definitely would, like but that's
I guess that's the question: is who's your target market for your crossover?
But I would say at the same time, I mean, Power Rangers, I feel like as a property is really more for people like that are 30 or so, right?
Yeah.
Like it kind of skews. And so a lot of those people, like those are the ones that have the disposable income now. And so I know a friend of mine that does, sell stuff at shows and conventions. he sells a lot more Power Ranger stuff, or just as much now as what he sells Transformers. And he said that he's just seen that flip, like over the last 10 years, he's seen it where it just keeps going more and more to Power Rangers.
Yeah, that is something I've heard as well from the same person.
If they were going to do a fiction crossover for Mighty Morphin and Transformers, the comics are the way to go, because right now the Mighty Morphin comics are phenomenal. They are really, really good.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
So I would really like to see that team take on a Transformers crossover, see what they could do with it. Might be a really cool story.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Who does the comics right now? Is it IDW or somebody else?
It's Boom Studios, I believe.
Boom Studios. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, that'd be the only bad thing
done
is if they
something
switch the comics over from Boom to IDW.
And they've done company crossovers before. It could happen. They could do it. It would be neat.
Yeah, I have to say, like, as far as crossovers I'd want to see, like, I'm not really as into, you know, the fiction crossovers, but I would really like to see, like, back when which one was it? It was 13. Back when Final Fantasy 13 came out, they did this thing where the summons were transforming, right? And I thought it would be so cool to see a company that makes transforming action figures actually make some of those summons into transforming toys that worked really well. Like, I would love to have some of those as Transformers. And even some random other, like, Final Fantasy iconic creatures as Transformers would be really super cool. So I could really get into something like that. So, like, less like an actual story, but more just like iconic creatures from the things I like.
Give me a Cactrot or a Moogle.
Yeah, I mean, they did kind of a cool one where Odin turned into his horse, and that would be perfect for a Transformers toy, right? Like, that would just be exactly what you need. And right, you could do Alexander, like Zeldrin just said. Alexander's like a castle, so that sometimes transforms into a robot already. So it'd be perfect. That would just be a really good place. So I guess there's my area. It's Final Fantasy, of course. Then I would want to see some crossovers, like an old-timey airship, because they always have the, like, pirate-style airships that turns into a robot. That would be so fun.
No, that would be cool.
That would be really
do like a shockwave. So
it'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is some crossover I want. Surprise.
All right, that's pretty good.
Jack, how about you?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm kind of looking at my, like, movies and video games to see if, like, there's any crossovers I really want to see, but I can't really find anything interested in. I can't think of anything. I guess I could kind of see if they kind of, like, do what they did with the Street Fighter, but kind of go with, like, Dragon Ball Z, I guess.
Oh,
do it like that.
Yeah,
like, or at least do a few other TV shows, kind of get some other fans into it, like maybe Simpsons. Like, there was.
Have you seen those images that are going around? The Simpsons crossover images. Yeah.
Yes, and they were great. It was like, I think it was Hans Moleman was like Optimus Prime or whatever, and Mr. Burns was like Megatron. I'm like, this works.
Oh,
so well. Starscream.
I'm like, what the heck is this? So that's pretty much like the main two I could kind of see starting off would be like the Simpsons and Dragon Ball Z, but I can't really think of anything else.
That would be fun, though. More of the weird, fleshy robot people would be.
Yeah.
Like they're weird, but they're pretty cool, actually. So I could deal with more of them. More robot cosplay.
Yeah. See, you do Dragon Ball Z crossover though. You're gonna open up the forum to all of those Dragon Ball Z fanboys. Who'd win in a fight, Goku or Optimus Prime? Please, just leave me alone. I just work here.
Pretty much,
you know.
Now I want to find this album of the Simpsons.
I actually think, now after reading this Transformers Terminator, I kind of like to see them do something with that. Like, I actually think that could be a good way to revive the Terminator property in general, just because it's, like, Terminator is kind of dead and buried after this last movie.
They suck.
So
that last movie got an unfair rap, man. The most recent Terminator movie was actually pretty solid.
I haven't seen that one, so I'm not gonna.
I won't spoil it, but check it out.
Well, the problem with Terminator in general is like, I just feel like a lot of the ideas and themes are just the same every single time. And so that's where I think it would be interesting with this is that it's something different. You're mixing in Transformers and whatnot too. So like I think it would be, an interesting idea rather than it being the same idea every, or a small variation or whatnot. So.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the chat mentioned a Transformers WWE crossover, Transformers Wrestling. I mean, there were those covers from the original Marvel comic. There's a wrestling cover there where one of the Micromasters is getting tossed out of the ring. So maybe there's something there. Are we anybody else wrestling fan, or is it just me?
No, you used to be. I
think that'd be fun.
See it.
It could be fun. It's such a terrible idea, but I would definitely go for it just so I could buy a Transformer for my husband.
Yeah, they've been doing those Masters of the Universe WWE crossover figures, and the Masters fandom has been tearing it to shreds because they don't get it. It's over their heads. But like, WWE is one of the things that pays the bills for Mattel, so of course they're going to take their homebrewed property and dress it up in whatever license they can to try and make those molds cost effective. But the Masters guys just get angry at it. It's like, this is how you get your Motu toys, guys. What do you want? It's like
right, exactly.
So they can do Motu.
For all the Masters of the Universe toys that they're producing otherwise.
Yeah. Right.
So I actually think that'd be kind of a cool concept if you could have like a Transformers like fighting league.
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, I think that would actually be an interesting concept.
But I would be interested to see if they were going to do some sort of All-Star Wrestling crossover thing with Transformers. Maybe a Hulk Hogan Optimus Prime or something.
It could be funny.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah.
So I know in the chat that they're bringing up about doing GoBots with Transformers, and so like that's a weird licensing thing, and I'm sure we could. Rick I know has explained this in the past, but he could probably explain it better than me. But I believe that the issue is that I think that Hasbro owns the the names and characters and all that, right? But Bandai actually owns like the likenesses because it was based on, what's the cartoon that was based on?
Machine Robo.
Yeah, so it's based on Machine Robo. And so, like, again, it gets into a competitor. They would have to figure something out with licensing. And it's not that it's like GoBots is like an older brand or whatever. So it's not something that they really would would probably be going out of their way to try to make new toys. But I would agree, like, I would love to see, new GoBots toys. And there's actually some officially licensed GoBots made by
Action Toys.
Action Toys.
Yeah.
That made it. I don't know if you can still pick them up or not, but from a couple years ago. So it was based on Machine Robo, but it's the same. they look the same, or they look very similar. So
that is probably sorry.
I was just gonna say there's some good GoBots stuff hiding in third-party repaints as well.
Yeah.
If there's that good Crasher made out of DX9's Mirage, and there's a few of the GoBots are repaints for the New Age figures. Yeah. So they're out there.
That is my number one wish, is that they would figure out the licensing on that and just do GoBots, man. Like, I would love to have more GoBots toys, and that we get one or two every now and again is kind of cool, but like I need more GoBots.
As long as at least we get at least one Rock Lord,
Yes.
I'm good.
There
At
we
least
go.
one.
I feel like, again, like, I always feel like GoBots is like the butt of everyone's joke, but somehow everyone collected GoBots, and you find all these people that love them, but yet somehow online it's like the punchline to a joke that, you know, it's like, oh yeah, those are the cheap, crappy toys, like knockoff Transformers.
Yeah, they were. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna just go out on a limb here and say that a lot of ways, when I look back at the joy of owning a Transforming action figure, the GoBots were actually more fun to own as a kid because they were little and relatively simple and looked okay. I think I injured myself on them less frequently.
Toys.
Yeah, that they were really cool. So I think I have more like pleasant memories of them. I just don't have the like full cartoon and fancy everything in the future.
And Rodimus brought up a good one in the chat too, the Robotech, I guess, and Hasbro potentially, but I don't know with Harmony Gold and all that, like what you could,
you know, whole lawsuit thing.
Yeah. So
Pretty much.
But yeah, I know they re-upped like a year ago, but I don't know what all they're making and whatnot right now. So, well, I think we've kind of covered a lot of ground here, a lot of different things. I don't know. Do you guys have any other final thoughts or anything you want to add to the pile that we haven't covered so far?
I don't think so.
I have a final thought. I just wanted to point out that we made it through a crossover show without literally talking about the Marvel Transformer Crossovers series of action figures.
All right, we'll have to circle back. All right, we got another 20 minutes to do here now.
Nope,
Yeah, sorry.
we don't need to talk about it. It's okay to forget. Some things are better left.
I don't know what was worse, the crossovers toys or the new Avengers Transformers crossover comic, because oh my god.
Yeah.
So let's just leave it there. Just leave it there.
Yeah. My only disappointment with those is like I've kind of actually wanted to go back and pick some of them up, but they're actually somewhat difficult to find online, especially someone like there was someone had a Ghost Rider that I saw like whatever like on Facebook, and then I tried to look it up on eBay and it was like going for like over $100, and I'm like, no way in hell, like I'm spending, you know,
this one dude's asking price doesn't mean it sold for that much, right? Dude can put it up for whatever he wants to.
Might have
right, but there's not like what I'm saying. There's not a lot like so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that I would definitely rate the Star Wars crossover line over, you know, Marvel back in the day. So.
Yeah.
Those were different product teams, right? Those were developed outside of the Transformers brand team. That's why they were so weird. Is that right?
Sure.
I believe so.
There's an excuse.
This is where it would have been great to have Rick on the show because he could have, you know,
answered that one.
The show would have been much different had he been on tonight because
we would have been way out of
I
way.
wouldn't have been here.
It would have been much different, but yeah. I don't know. We'll probably have to ask him next time because I'm not sure. So.
Anyways, there is one thing. There is one crossover I forgot that I'd like to see: Transformers and Men in Black.
Nice.
That car.
Cool.
That car. Yes. Okay. All right. That's a good pitch. I could get in on that.
So yeah, no, I think that would actually fit in really well too. So. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. So tomorrow night, check us Microcasters out on Facebook. We are going to be doing the tapes, I think, right, Anna?
Yes, we are.
So
you can totally see them.
So check that out. There's the new Generation Select tapes that are repaints of what is it? Rumble and the Rat Bat. So.
And Wing Thing. This is
Right.
a wing thing.
There
Thing
you
will be
go.
here.
You can get a wing thing for a decent price. So, but yeah, so check that out on Facebook. There's no Ask My Wallet this week because it's every 2 weeks. But make sure
Rob
and
said
check
he
out.
might do it.
Oh,
Rob said he
well,
might
there we
do
go. All right, so I guess we'll have to see. It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, I think Rob said he had a good chunk of stuff coming in, so he might just say screw it and might do one this week. So
We'll
not
see.
100%.
And then also TF Talk News came out last night, and it was a really packed episode. So I think that the week before there was like no news, so like the episode was 5 minutes long or 8 minutes, something like that. The episode this week I think was like 20 some minutes. So definitely check that out if you want to get up to speed on all of the Transformers news of the week, of which there was quite a bit. So check that out. And then also Cut the Tape. We've been having some fun with Rick. He did a Spanish episode a couple weeks ago, and then we did an episode where that Mr. Starscream tried to interpret what Rick was talking about. So
I couldn't last 1 minute into that Spanish episode. I was just like, my brain was just about to explode. I'm like,
well, check out the episode this week because it's from last week. Mr. Starscream tries to interpret what Rick is saying, but Mr. Starscream does not speak Spanish himself, so it was
Quite
that was
preposterous.
interesting. So,
Oh boy.
but anyway,
We're going into comedy lately, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know, and now Rick wants to do like a director's cut of it, and I don't know. We'll see what we'll see what happens with Cut the Tape. It's always something new with Cut the Tapes. So check that out, and of course on check out TFYLP as well on Monday night. So thank you to everyone in the chat, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, senors.
Bye-bye.
Hi everybody.